PJ, it's happening again.
What did I do? What happened?
Not you.
Okay, thank
It's
God.
just-
I was like, I didn't feel like I did anything wrong there.
Well, that puts an interesting dynamic in our relationship that you immediately feel like you're doing something wrong. No, it's happening again. A sport I don't care about for 364 days a year has drawn me in.
Just
right now,
really,
I love talking on the radio. I love hearing myself talk, but I would much rather be watching our boy, our American, Taylor Fritz at Wimbledon.
yeah.
As he is currently in the 5th set, tied 4 games apiece with what a lot of people consider the GOAT, Mr. Nadal.
Right? Wow. That in and of itself is controversial.
It's gone 6-3, 5-7, 6-3, 5-7. So they've been consistent. And now it's 4-4
Wow. Okay.
in the final set.
That's pretty impressive. See now what? No, where they
Kevin,
at here?
can we go to live coverage of Wimbledon?
For quote unquote our guy.
Okay, the guy wearing the Southern pigskin hat shakes his head and thumbs down. Okay, shocker.
Quote unquote our guy. Taylor
It's the only
Fritz.
American left.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I actually don't want to make that point or take this closely to July 4th. So never mind.
Wow. Whoa.
Never mind.
What were you about to say?
Don't worry about it.
Say what you were about to say.
I don't know. Like,
say what you were about to say.
When I'm watching sports, especially when it's like, especially when, if you're representing our country, like the U.S. men's national team, like that's okay. That's the United States of America, right? If you're in like a solo tournament by yourself, is it really just representing the United
Hell
States?
Yeah,
like,
brother.
Like, I don't know. I have a lot of people.
His name is Taylor Fritz.
Sure, it's great. And you know, if he wins it, that's awesome for him. I don't understand why we have to claim ownership in that. It's like someone winning the Masters, or like I love NASCAR. I love racing, right? The Brickyard 400. It's like everyone's always like, man, American born, like let's get someone to win that. And I'm just like, why do we need to, like, it's cool if it's them because it's cool for them. Why does it have to be like, why do we have to take ownership of that as a country? I just don't get that.
So that's
part.
our boy.
If you're wearing the red, white, and blue, that's a different story, man. I like if you're in the Olympics or something like that, then you're in that sport to represent our country. If you go out and win Wimbledon, you're winning Wimbledon for you. All right, let's be real. Like,
but I don't know. I think you're missing a lot of larger points. Number one, PJ, these colors don't run.
I know that point very well, and I support it.
Number two, if he wins Wimbledon as an American, that again, it's just coming off the 4th of July.
That is true. Like
Double
location wise, yeah. Okay, all right, I get that. It'd probably be better if he was facing off against someone of like British descent, right?
Well, but Nadal's like the GOAT.
That's true too.
I know a lot of people say Fed, but our boy's up 1 game, 5-4.
There we go. Look at that. You're our boy.
And I'm allowed to give live updates, Kevin. Calm down because it's an ESPN program. So
our quote unquote guy is.
What I'm garnering from this is PJ doesn't support his fellow Americans.
I certainly do. Okay, I think people take ownership of things.
Yeah, Kevin said that was pretty weak. You came pretty weak on that support.
Listen, man, people take ownership of things that they don't need to. Like
PJ, we do this with everything. If I'm a
I like him getting ripped like I do when I say the same thing about the World Cup.
This is the World Cup. They're representing the United States.
No, Kevin.
They're playing for the USA. That makes sense.
You not caring about soccer, being diametrically opposed to it, and therefore not supporting the U.S. men's national team is not the same thing. It's not the same.
Oh, man.
Kevin wants the U.S. team to do bad so he doesn't have to talk about the World Cup. That's a different thing. But Kevin, if I don't know.
He just doesn't like soccer.
If it comes down to it and it's golf, right? And it's between an American you've never heard of and someone from Spain you've never heard of, you're pulling for the American, no? That's a yes. All right, thank you. So
I just don't care about the sport, so I don't care about the sport.
But we do it for everything. 3 and Out literally does it. Like they do it for golf, where it's like those guys don't give a rip about golf. I'm just gonna say it. They bring Rich Styles on because he cares about golf, and therefore somebody will actually care about it when they talk about it. But they do the updates, and who do they talk about? The guy who's in first, second, third? No, they go, let's give you a local update so we can give you like an update on how the guys from around here are doing.
Sure.
Right? We do that with everything. This is just expanding it out.
That's much more localized, though.
But it's
Like,
just expanding it out. This is a worldwide sport. We're supporting our dude. And he's probably from California, but we're supporting our guy. Taylor Fritz up 5-4 on Rafa.
good for him. And I'm pulling for him as well, but much more because that would be a big upset, and I like upsets. But you know what else was?
Dude, we do it in college football.
You know what else was an upset?
We do it in college football.
The U.S.
Michigan makes it to the Orange Bowl. I guarantee you, PJ was rooting for Michigan.
in the war for
Big Ten.
independence. So
Big Ten.
no, I was not.
Big Ten.
Get out of here.
Big Ten. Yeah, you guys are the only conference who does that.
Dude, I was hoping you
Big
guys would
Ten.
beat them 87-0, and you fell short. But hey, you still won,
Is this
so I
just
like
a
that.
Southern person thing? 'Cause,
I don't
like,
know if the American thing is
If you're
like,
a, if you're a,
the
like,
SEC thing definitely is. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying like that. We just like support people based off of like, hey, he's an American, I'm American. I support
No,
him.
no, definitely not. Like I've heard this from tons of people from all over. Like
Well,
a lot
we're
of people
We're
from the
certainly
north
the only
are the
ones who
same way.
chant our
So
conference name.
it's just like I know this is much more controversial than like probably than
I'm
just
glad you admitted this.
supporting the SEC or whatever because it's the country, right? And everyone's likes to be gung ho about their support for the country, and I understand that in most situations. I just
just
feel
so
like
easy to
we're stretching it too far.
USA, SEC,
Stop it.
SEC.
I'm fine with
it's
that
so
first
easy.
chant.
It's
That
so
second
easy
one's
to
ridiculous.
transition.
That second
Like,
one
I mean,
is
ACC
ridiculous.
just doesn't hit as well.
That's the thing. But like even in the US, like at least you're when you have the USA chance, you're all fighting for the same thing, right? You're all trying to win a World Cup game or whatever. Like, right? When you're doing the SEC chants, you're literally chanting for people that you play against and want to beat.
Yeah, but we're all so good.
It
that we
doesn't make
just-
any sense.
We just have mutual respect.
No, it's not. It's,
Yeah, it
if
is.
you want someone from the SEC to win the national championship or whatever, so even when your team is 3-9, you can say, "Hey,
PJ,
the
I
SEC.
think everything that's happening is a big reason why you want your fans chanting your conference's name, right? You're chanting SEC, even if you're a Kentucky fan, for Alabama to win the national championship. You know why?
because you're never gonna have a chance to win a
it
national
means more
championship." That's why.
TV revenue coming into your school.
Wow.
Because when you win all those championships, all of a sudden someone's like ESPN's like, huh, this conference is pretty good.
So y'all are
We
just a
want to
bunch of
broadcast all their games.
selfish money grubbers. Then that's what you're
I
saying.
think that's pretty clear.
I think everyone is though, but I mean, so
Which
I
brings
wouldn't
us
argue
to
with
an
that a
interesting
lot.
point.
Little bit.
I was corrected by someone, PJ, with a blue check mark. I'm not going to name names, but they texted me after the show yesterday, and I'm okay being corrected.
Yeah, if they do have a blue check mark too, that's pretty.
Well, I'm not saying like you have to have a blue check mark to give me advice. Like my mom doesn't have a blue check mark, and I'll still listen to her. I'm not like,
But you know
Mom,
what?
whoa, Mom, are you verified?
She might not on Twitter, but I'm sure she does in real life because
Are
your
you just like,
mom's
hey, whoa,
fantastic.
are you verified? Then don't talk to me. No, I got
I'm
a
pretty
text.
sure she's verified of being your mom. Yes.
No, she still needs a blue check mark. That being said, I got a text message from someone with a blue check mark after the show yesterday, and they corrected me on something. And we're going to talk about that because it's going to lead us into an entire segment, and we don't
Oh,
have time
okay.
to do that now.
Gotcha.
So what we're going to do now instead is talk NFC South because we do have some news.
From Wimbledon to NFC South.
Yeah, basically the same thing.
I like that.
We do have some news. The ever-evolving quarterback situation of the NFC South. Do you remember there was a brief moment where it was going to be Matt Ryan as a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons,
Yeah.
Sam Darnold or PJ Walker as the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers,
Great.
Kyle Trask as the quarterback for the Bucks,
Great name.
and either Jameis Winston or who knows as the quarterback for the Saints.
or the most reluctant starting quarterback of all time, Taysom Hill.
Well, I just didn't know like
Like
what they considered Taysom. But that being said, there was a moment in time where you're like, damn, the Falcons have the best quarterback in the NFC South.
Yeah.
And then the Fire Nation attacked. Like this is the best way to put it. Tom Brady unretires. And now the Carolina Panthers have added a former number 1 overall pick to their quarterback room, which is now one of the more weird quarterback rooms ever. It might be the most boring quarterback room ever, if I'm being honest. They've traded a conditional 5th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns for Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. Yep. So old disgruntled Baker Mayfield.
Would you have you not seen the fallout of Deshaun Watson? Literally didn't come to the Falcons, and it still forced the Falcons to trade their starting quarterback.
No,
like
yeah.
he's that radioactive.
Understandable. And I didn't say like disgruntled in a way that like he's not deservedly so. Like I'd be pretty annoyed too.
Like if somebody like if they hired somebody to be the new host of Green, White, and Checkered and to be like our traffic coordinator and do all the other jobs that you did, but then he couldn't work here for like 16 to 32 weeks because of sexual assault allegations.
I'd be pretty.
But like we still like made him the highest paid employee in the history of this company.
Right. Sure.
And we're still going to continue to pay him throughout all of that. And just to ask you like, yo, can you just hold it down until he gets, the stuff figured out?
I would say yes. And then I would walk out and I wouldn't come back. So like I would say yes. And then I would leave.
Go make some State Farm commercials.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For sure. Even more. Now does he have to? Well, no, I guess never mind. That was
God, that would be the best too, is if they took the State Farm commercials out of Cleveland and put them in Carolina.
That would be, yes. I hope that happens. Like just see, like even if they don't want to tape all of them, just like try like really terribly CGI the Carolina Panthers.
Just because of what the
there.
Browns have done,
great.
I hope they get their Chris Redmond years now.
Oh, for sure.
Their Joey Harrington years.
Yeah, because I mean they're browsing decent situations. Like I mean they've been so terrible for so long, didn't have a quarterback for so long, and now for the past couple years they've been actually pretty respectable.
Yep.
Of course, last year was kind of toxic with the whole OBJ Baker Mayfield fallout.
Speaking of OBJ, did you see the painting he had commissioned of himself?
I would say, was that the one that was like the Rams hymn is reaching down to
And picking, it's like what is the painting where it's like it's God reaching out to touch Adam's hand?
Yes.
It was basically that, but it's OBJ in his Rams uniform reaching down to pick up OBJ in his Browns uniform.
Which like is crazy to me, because if that was happening in any uniform, it should be the Giants. Because like the team was always terrible with the Giants. He was always injured. He had that one highlight catch.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, he had a pretty good pass to Saquon Barkley for a touchdown as well. But I mean, like, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, all things considered.
That being said, the acquisition for Carolina, I think they're a borderline playoff team. You still have Christian McCaffrey. You have a good line up front. They've invested in that offensive line. Robbie Anderson at wide receiver, a couple other good receivers as well, but their secondary and their front seven is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Like you don't have a Luke Kuechly anymore, and so middle of the defense hasn't been as good as it was in the past. But I mean, you have Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis. It's hard to get better than that. But their defense is good. Like go look at Carolina's roster. That's secondary, and they've had to let some of those guys go, but their corners and safeties were just stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But they've let some of those guys go. It's still a very, very good defense. I think Carolina now, I don't dislike Baker Mayfield. I think he's a good NFL quarterback. And he's certainly better, going back to my point about that quarterback room, than Sam Darnold or Matt Corral. And at least this gives you a chance to, hey, we'll play with Baker for a couple of years. And then if Matt Corral works out, great. If not, fine. Like we still have Baker Mayfield, because Matt Corral is one of those very like high ceiling, but also low floor kind of guys. Like he could be just atrocious.
Right.
But he could also be really good.
Yeah. No,
So,
agreed.
I think it's a good move for Carolina. And they got the Browns to pay for half of it.
And after all this, like I feel like last year, like if Baker can somehow just find his way back to the few years of solid quarterback play he had before last year, like, yes, he had a bad year last year and then everything blew up because you have honestly toxic people that just make things worse in your locker room. Like when they're bad, it's crazy. Like OBJ, when things are good, makes things incredible. When they're bad, totally the other direction. But anyway, if he can just find his way back to that, and again, now you're working with a defense that just don't make things worse for them, right? Like just don't turn it over on your own 30-yard line. Don't put them in bad situations, and they should do some pretty good things for you. And pretty respectable cast around him. Of course, you have Christian McCaffrey there, running back. Is Robbie Anderson the most dynamic wide receiver in the
they got a
NFL?
couple-
No,
No,
but
no.
yeah, no,
don't-
not at all.
I
But
answered that
like,
too quickly. No.
I think it's respectable at least.
Yeah, they got some young guys in that wide receiving core as well. Like I said, good offensive line, good defensive line, good safeties, good corners. That's a borderline playoff team. Might be the second best team in the NFC South right now. But
We'll see.
interesting move there in the NFL is Baker Mayfield headed to Carolina. Update, PJ, for our boy Taylor Fritz going up against Nadal.
Yeah, for sure.
We're in the fifth set, 6-6. We have a tie break.
Wow. Just
So I mean, basically, we got OT right now in Tennessee. In tennis.
oh man.
Yeah, no.
So what round are they in, by the way?
Quarterfinals. So this is for a spot in the semis.
This is for a spot in the semis.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Are you buying into it a little bit now?
Go ahead,
Pulling
Taylor.
our boy Taylor.
No, I was hoping it was like maybe the semis at least or something, but like the quarterfinals, dude.
But it's Nadal.
The
It's
quarterfinals.
the 2 seed.
He's just having a bad tournament. If he's about to lose in the quarterfinals.
Oh my! Or Taylor's just out there representing. We gotta take a break. We're gonna come back and tell you why I was wrong next. It's not looking good for our boy Taylor. Down 5-1 in the tiebreak. But, you got to have that tense scene before the comeback.
Sure. Yes, of course.
All about overcoming adversity. Also, overcoming like self obstacles where he's just hitting balls back into the net. But, we're ride or die. At least I am. I don't know about PJ.
I mean, if he wins, that's cool. But like, you're like enthralled in this. Like, this isn't
boy.
just. I just want you guys to know, like, when you get us on the show, it's 100% like us. Like what Christian talks about, man, pulling for our guy Taylor Fritz, whatever. He is in the break, just face in his phone, yelling at Taylor Fritz through the phone. There, see, just like that the whole time. Although there were some choice words when he was just hitting it in the net over and over again.
Oh my God, he had a little comebacker, PJ. He had Nadal dead to rights, just had a boop, poke it over the net, and just stuck it in the net. He choked, and he choked.
It seems like Taylor Fritz
Don't you say it.
Is on the Fritz.
No, you say it.
I said it.
He is the Fritz.
Sure, he is the Fritz. You know what he also is? You know what he is also? Excuse me.
Ooh, big ace right there, PJ.
He's getting that big ace. That's what he is. He's also American.
I told you, comeback.
What is it now?
5-3.
What is it now? 5. Wow.
It was 5-0.
Wild.
So
Just
anyway.
so I fully understand it, those 5 threes, that's the amount of games they've won.
No.
that-
This is a tiebreak. So
in
it's
that
just
tiebreaker?
it's down to like they played all the games they can play. Now it's just like you get a point per. I'm trying to kill basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like what is it? Like
This
the
is
15, 30, 45?
college. This is like college football's new overtime rules, where it's just like, no, we're
Interesting.
putting you on the 2. Go.
I'll say they probably changed those overtime rules because of that one game that I was talking
What
about
was that game?
forever ago.
What was that game that happened this past year where you
I
were
don't
like,
know
wow,
about
these
that
new
one.
overtime rules are terrible?
Come on, man. Why would you?
What was
stop
that? What was
it?
that game?
Alabama Auburn.
I feel like it was Illinois and somebody.
Yeah, Alabama Auburn. Like we really
No,
saw.
that was really good. It
like,
looked good. Like that
well,
was.
I don't know. It was
that
like
was
an
actually a
epic
fun game.
that came down to ridiculous 2-point conversion. So I think that's the one that you're thinking of, probably.
No, but like, see, that one was actually good.
I didn't
There was
find.
a game. It was I think it was a Big Ten game.
I don't
And
know.
I think it was Illinois playing someone at their stadium.
That doesn't sound like a game that happened this year. That's weird. It seems like the universe and like just
So
all
I just had a fever
just
dream.
like all of college football agreed to forget about that game because it was so just ridiculous and bad
So
and
you're saying I
terrible.
just had like a fever dream and like Penn State playing Illinois didn't happen.
I think that you should go back to the doctor because they obviously didn't wipe your brain well enough. Because they certainly did me. I don't remember anything. from that.
Anyways, do you want to hear why I was wrong?
I went to sleep one day and woke up and Penn State had another loss on their schedule.
Okay.
That's all I
Do you,
remember.
do you want to hear why I was wrong?
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I mean, I'm not usually one to readily admit it.
I will say that like admitting when people are wrong or like you're wrong or like proven wrong or whatever, that should be way more normalized. Like
Well, so no, the radio thing to do would be
It's
like
so
if I'm completely
weird.
reversing my position one day to the other, you just don't acknowledge it.
yeah, it's
Kevin
so
does it all the time. It's amazing.
silly. I don't know. Even in just like normal life, like it's just like, okay, you were wrong. It's okay. We can move on from this. No, I wasn't. Well, I was saying you just didn't get
Oh,
what
yeah.
I was saying.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
what-
so you need
what
to get
are
off your chest.
talking about?
No, but it's just in radio. If one day I come in and I say Georgia's defense might be the best I've ever seen, and then I come back in the next day, I'm like, listen, we can't just get hyperbolic on this. There's a lot of defenses out there that were better than Georgia's last year. You just blow past the fact that you just contradicted yourself, right? I'm not going to do that.
That's
I'm
what
going to
some people
acknowledge
do,
where I
yes.
was apparently wrong. So the web that we were spinning yesterday was Notre Dame is the next domino to fall. Right?
Hopefully.
They have to join a conference because fiscally it just doesn't make any sense for them not to, right? They're not getting enough money from NBC for their TV deal, combined with the ACC that they're getting some money from for the rest of their sports and the basically home ACC games that they're playing against, like what, 4 teams a year, roughly. So I said, yeah, eventually financially it's not going to make any sense for them not to be in a conference, and I think that's going to force them to enter into a conference, whether it's the Big Ten, even though there's reports that Notre Dame told the Big Ten no this morning. The Big Ten, the ACC, like maybe they want to help save the ACC, something along those lines, right? I got a text message after the show yesterday where somebody said, "You guys don't understand Notre Dame money." And to that, I responded, "Enlighten me."
Yeah, sure.
They said Notre Dame is rich, was the exact quote I got. They don't care. So for people who are out there like, hey, for their athletics to operate, continue to compete against other schools, they're going to have to get some of these TV deals, therefore have to enter a conference. Apparently, that's not the math for Notre Dame. They get so many private donations, and you're never going to know what they are because they're a private school. They are the Alabamas of booster clubs, right? Undefeated. No one raises more money than them.
That makes sense.
And so what do you spend all of that TV revenue on? It's for Kirby Smart's new weight rooms, right? It's for Alabama's new outdoor practice facilities, right? It's for all the peripheral stuff, right? Florida all of a sudden has become like Jurassic when it comes to their football facilities, right? Used to be some of the best in the country. Now apparently they're prehistoric. And so Billy Napier comes in. He's like, we got to fix this, right? You use that money from the TV deals. Notre Dame, they have never wanted. Bad news, real quick.
Yeah, no, I saw. I will say
Taylor's done.
Yeah,
And my
over.
interest in Wimbledon's over.
I saw the victorious fist held high there of Nadal.
Rafael Nadal. He's so nice. It's hard to hate him.
Can I say that like the last 3 minutes have been? I didn't want to interrupt you because you were, but like is insanely impressive. Like so Christian's sitting there. If you know me, you know that I can't really do more than one thing and all. More than one thing without breaking my focus, especially if it's talking. And like you're just sitting there watching this tennis game, like again, match, whatever, enthralled in it, and just eyes glued to that phone while you're going on about the spiel of Notre Dame and their money and remembering exactly what this person said in their conversation between you and not one time breaking focus on what's going on with our guy Fritz.
It's called show prep, baby. But I guess the reason I bring all this up is to one, admit I was wrong, but number two is I guess it kind of changes the scope. Could Notre Dame join a conference if they wanted to? Yes, but I keep saying this, right? The law of diminishing return. If Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, they're just another team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That gold helmet's a little less shiny, right? That South Bend is a little bit less mysterious, right? It's got that mystique to it. If you join the Big Ten, you're another team. And like I said yesterday, more likely than not, you're an 8-4, 9-3 team annually. That's just the reality. You're going to be playing in and that's a good year. Like you're going to be playing in a really, really good conference, hitting the road to take on really, really good teams and really, really, really tough environments. More likely than not, 2, 3, 4 losses a year for Notre Dame. Whereas you stay out there as the independent, you have your contract with NBC, you have your mystique around you, people schedule you, and the fans freak out to flock to your stadium, right? Like it's so different than every other school, but also they're the only school, I shouldn't say the only, but they're the biggest example of a school that has the sect of fans that are there strictly because of religion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That is insanely
You're
unique.
like, I was born in Phoenix, but I'm Catholic. My dad's Catholic. My mom's Catholic. We watch Notre Dame football. It's what we do.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
And I guess that papal money hits a little bit different.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
But I mean, but
But
when you
it's
think
true,
about
though.
but when you think about blue blood, like Notre Dame is a blue blood.
Yeah,
Like,
agreed. Yeah,
Them checks have been cashing for a long time.
absolutely.
And so again, what my source / friend sent me messages, you're not understanding Notre Dame money.
And that certainly makes sense, right? Like everywhere you go, you have someone that graduated from Notre Dame and they're going to tell you about it, or wanted to graduate from Notre Dame. Instead, they got a degree from Indiana State because it was close, so I get that. That makes a ton of sense, especially with those private donations as well. As you mentioned, you never really are going to know how much is there because it's just they're opening up those envelopes every morning.
Like, did you
they're
see
cashing.
when Marcus Washington got announced as the head coach? Like, did you see the videos from Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Like their football facility, it looks like a cathedral.
Yeah.
It's just
True.
like through the video, it smelled like money.
Right. No, it's insanely true. And that's a very good point. But I think my only pushback in any of this, and I'm not saying that that's wrong because that's a very good point. I think my only pushback is like, do you think if Notre Dame does join a conference, that mystique of Notre Dame truly fades away?
I think it's diminished.
Like, I think the fans and the private donation, like all those things are still going to roll in.
No, I'm just talking about from like a branding perspective. Because from a branding perspective, look, we've seen it year after year, right? Notre Dame goes undefeated. They're in. Even though they don't have a great strength of schedule, they're making it in. It's the mystique around Notre Dame as a program where it's just like college football exists and then there's Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Right. They're kind of just out there by themselves. And they've been mid. Like they've been super okay. Not too long ago, they went 4-8 with those terrible Clover uniforms, right? They've been okay.
Hey, what?
Those Clover uniforms were bad.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to keep up with which ones are which.
No, if they just do like the green alternates, those are
Yes,
fine.
those are
Yeah,
great.
those are fine. Like the Joe
Okay,
Montana,
yeah.
yeah, those are fine. I'm talking
As long
about
as
like
we agree.
or
there.
like those. They were their Georgia Power Ranger uniforms, like that equivalent of
yeah.
that.
Okay.
They were
yeah.
bad.
Oh
but-
yeah. I think I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about now. Yeah.
So
sure.
they're not always great, but that just mystique remains around them, and people are willing to break them off for home and homes and stuff. So it's like, think about how much money Georgia made having Notre Dame come to Sanford Stadium.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
the
I mean,
biggest
you-
game
you
in
can
Sanford
still
Stadium
do that, though.
history.
You can still have
They
that.
brought in PJ. Alabama comes to Georgia. Clemson comes to Georgia.
Yeah.
LSU comes to Georgia. All of these schools come to Georgia. They brought in extra bleachers for Notre Dame.
Just do you think that change? I don't think that changes if they're in a conference.
I do.
That's wild to me. No, like to me, the mystique of Notre Dame, does them not being in a conference add to it? Sure. Them being that independent, that's always been that independent, and there's been plenty who have kind of flocked in and
Yeah.
flocked out of that kind of independence mode and situation. That is a respectable and really cool part of Notre Dame, absolutely. But I feel like the history, the tradition, the championships, the uniforms, the helmets,
When was the last time they won a championship?
well, exactly. But like you said, that they're one of those blue bloods, and I don't think they're strictly one of the blue bloods because
But
they're
no, like, okay,
independent.
so
Like,
Nebraska
I don't
won.
know.
Nebraska, Kevin, 3 or 2
God.
in the 90s? 2 in the 90s. And I know they stole one from Penn State, whatever. Nebraska won 2 national championships in the 90s. Prior to that, they were still a really great college football program. And they've been super bad to okay for the past 15, 20 years, right? And I think a lot of people pre 2005, 2006 would consider Nebraska one of those blue bloods, right? It was such a big deal when they joined the Big Ten, right? Years of irrelevance have pushed them back to where they're a joke.
Yeah,
Notre Dame can go through years of irrelevance. That's still damn Notre Dame.
but again, it's not just the championships. Like, there's so many different sides to Notre Dame that Nebraska doesn't have. That private school, that religion
Yeah.
being tied to it, yes. Just like the again, I don't know what it is and why it is, but it's like if you have someone who is a Notre Dame fan and someone in their family went to Notre Dame,
Let me give you an
they're
example.
going to tell you about it all day.
Let me give you an example.
The same thing's
So,
not going to happen with Nebraska.
I think I don't know if Kevin will agree with me on this or not. Interleague play used to be very rare, right? You get 15, 20 games a year that were interleague play. In Major League Baseball, the rest were against you played NL opponents if you're in the NL.
Yeah.
And so when the Braves played the Yankees, or the Braves got to go play in Fenway, that used to be like must-watch TV because you don't get to see the Braves play in Fenway, right? Now interleague is a much bigger portion of your schedule, and so the Braves play in Boston. I mean, Braves play in Boston. Like, it is what it is. Braves play in New York, or New York comes to Atlanta. It is what it is. It kind of takes the mystique away from it. Whereas Notre Dame in college football, you're lucky if you can get on their dance card, and then if you take away the way that they're able to schedule, where they can just go service academies, USC, and then we'll figure it out from there. They're like an Elvis or Celine Dion, where they get to go to Las Vegas and create their own book. Like they get to make it. And then it's if they go on tour, you're like, oh, God, I hope they come to my city.
It's so weird though, because like even since they've been independent and whatever, and now they got that
They've always
weird,
been
they
independent.
got that weird thing with the ACC and whatever, which has restricted. But like, if you look at a conference that they would join, which apparently they've said no to, which again doesn't make any sense.
Reports
to me.
are
They've built, even since they've been independent, they can schedule anyone they want to. Everyone that they have scheduled time after time after time, and they've built rivalries with and huge games with that everyone pays attention to. It's everyone in the Big Ten, like Michigan,
I mean, now
Ohio
it is.
State,
Now it is USC.
USC. Well, maybe not Ohio State, but like, and if you want even like weird ones like Northwestern, like it's odd, but like yeah, it's a game that they've played several times before.
I think that's just
So like, I don't know. It's just you can join the Big Ten, have all those rivalries, have those big games, and then also still have those 3 games where you go, all right, we still want to play Army and Navy.
They don't
We
want
can
that.
do that.
They want the flexibility.
Wow.
And if you join the Big Ten, NBC doesn't get those home games anymore. And obviously the money would be bigger if you joined a conference. But from what we're hearing is people in and around Notre Dame, the boosters that actually care about it, saying like, listen, we'll cover whatever those costs.
Money's
are.
not going to be an
Yeah,
issue.
like whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you need, like it's always been met.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
I think that's just a factor to keep in mind. Notre Dame's not desperate to join a conference, and they're never going to be outside looking in. If you do an expanded playoff, there's going to be guaranteed for conference champs, and then different conferences are going to have a guaranteed amount of spots, and then there's going to be the Notre Dame spot, and then the rest of you guys can figure it out from there. So it's the way it's always worked in and around Notre Dame. And I think joining a conference potentially diminishes some of that. And it quickly, because we got to go to break, it makes it so much harder for them to get to the playoffs. So much harder because they're actually going to have to play a full conference slate against really good teams and head to some of these environments. Makes it a lot harder for them to make the playoffs. We got to take a break. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside PJ Zuko. Glad to have y'all hanging out with us here on this Wednesday, PJ.
Already.
Kevin's too near me. I start forgetting what date it is.
Understandable.
It's like it spreads.
He even like has the door shut and still kind of got through there.
I do love the new dynamic we have because he's sitting in the production studio, so I can just like point back at him and ask him questions.
Yeah.
And just get thumbs up or thumbs down from him.
Right, for sure. Like Kevin, USA men's national team for soccer. You good? You like those guys?
Just completely
Apparently not.
completely
Yeah.
stonewalling you on that. I asked you this yesterday, PJ, because we were talking about the All-Star game, and Ronald Acuna has played less than half of the game so far for the Atlanta Braves, obviously coming back from injury at the beginning of the year, and then he's had a couple of moments where the Braves have just gone like, He kind of like sneezed wrong, and they're like, all right, well, he's not playing tomorrow.
Get him
Like,
out of here.
just like being very bubble wrap
Someone get him an IV.
with Ronald Acuna Jr.
Right.
But as we look at the updated starters for the National League and the All-Star game, again, I guess you have to care about the All-Star game, but as you look at the starters, Ronald Acuna Jr., the starting center fielder for the NL.
Okay,
And again, this goes back to it being a fan vote.
of course.
And the Braves have been just hot and heavy with their, hey, go vote.
Yeah.
You can vote now. Do it again and again. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it because that's just the way the rules work, but you're stuffing the ballots.
Yep.
Dansby Swanson, as of right now, the starting shortstop for the NL, which he might be the best shortstop in baseball right now. So I don't see anything wrong with that. My question to you is, a guy who's played half or less than half of the games thus far, the Braves have played 82 games. Should he be a starter in the All-Star game?
No. And like you said, it's not a problem, with the fans or with, him or anything like that. It's a problem with the rules and a problem with how this thing is done. So the fans are doing, and the Braves are doing exactly what they need to do and exactly what they should do. That being said, no, I think there should be some sort of rule or kind of limitation based on this. Like, sure, well, when he's been in and been able to play for the Braves, he's been great and he's been very good. Still a starter for the All-Star team. Now, does that, of course, how much does it really mean at the end of the day? Probably not a lot, but it doesn't mean a lot because of situations like this where everyone knows, like, all right, he's certainly not been the best.
Well, I mean, all you need to know is he has
Center fielder,
7 home runs and
Major League
19
Baseball,
RBIs.
but yeah.
Pretty sure Austin Riley did that in a month.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take anything away from Ronald Acuna. Again, he was injured for the first month of the season. And then
that's what I'm saying.
injured for the first month, and then there's been a couple of big stretches where he hit a base not too long ago, hit a baseball off the top of his foot and was out for 3 games.
Yeah.
And they were like, just, we don't care.
Right.
We don't want you for now. We want you for the playoffs.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he shouldn't be on the team in general, but I think at least starters should be reserved to a certain type of kind of stipulation, I guess, and some sort of, restrictions when it comes to who's eligible to get those votes. I just feel like you're taking it away. Now, do I have the names on the top of my head? No, but you're probably taking it away from someone else who's much more deserving to at least be that starter, right? If you want to fill out the rest of the roster with guys who have been injured or hurt or just, have had their own kind of problems and not been able to get on the field, but are still great, sure, that's fine. But not starters. There should be some sort of semblance of I guess, respect for being a starter on the All-Star team. I don't know.
Yeah, 7 home runs and 19 RBIs so far this year for Ronald Acuna. Again, he's a leadoff man, and he's missed a big chunk of games.
Yeah.
But I find that interesting. Luckily, it doesn't really mean anything anymore outside of just an exhibition, like it used to be for home field advantage in the World Series. But now if it's just financial, who cares?
Wow.
Put the best players out there. And of course, because they won the World Series last year, the Braves managers, Snicker is the manager for the NL.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So he's got his guy out there.
Like, dude, you did this to me earlier with another situation. So, like, hey, if we had an all-star broadcast coming up,
Yeah.
right, and we were putting it together with fan votes or whatever, but you had missed 85% of our broadcasts. Should the fans really be able to vote for you?
Probably not if you spent like 2 weeks in Hawaii.
Well, I mean, that was approved, so I'm saying these are unapproved. Saying these are. Hey,
Can't remember the last day I missed an unapproved day of work there, PJ.
Well, me neither.
Can't remember the last day I missed a day of work.
Good for you. I mean, I don't. That's not
Why are
healthy.
you coming at my attendance?
That's not healthy.
Why are you coming at my attendance?
Probably take a day off, man.
No,
You
PJ,
deserve it.
No. The
You
people
deserve
need to hear my terrible sports takes. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. 2 different locations, Savannah, to take care of all of your uniform needs. Speaking of days off, PJ, 3 and outs back from theirs.
Thank goodness.
They are coming up next
It's about time.
right here on ESPN Radio. The Braves have whittled down that New York Mets lead to 2.5. 2.5 wee little games as we're getting ready to head into the All-Star break. Kevin Thomas and Ben Troop will have the full breakdown coming up for you next as the Braves just hammered the Cardinals last night and the Mets wasted a Max Scherzer gem as he came out, was absolutely unbelievable, and then they lose to the Reds 1-0.
It's amazing.
That's tough. If you miss any portion of our show, you can check it out wherever you get your podcast. Again, 3 and Out coming up next. Ben Troop and Kevin Thomas. PJ and I will be back tomorrow. And then we have Braves baseball coming up for you tonight as they go for the series sweep against the St. Louis Cardinals. I thought the Braves were just good because they were playing bad teams, PJ. Thought they were just good because of that. 3 and Out coming up next.
They still are.